crisis worse. About Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with another Monday market wrap up. And I wanted to share with you a couple headlines that caught my attention, as well as get your thoughts on what's going on out here. And basically just prepare for another busy week of activity and things, try to navigate through it, filter through some of the noise. And so came across an interesting headline in reference to activity done outside the petrodollar system. And anytime that type of information comes about, it's definitely worth highlighting and sharing my 2 cents on, even though, as I've always said before, by the time it makes the Western media's news headlines, it's already old news. But definitely worth talking about just because it impacts us all, because it's not denominated in Federal Reserve notes, aka dollars. So definitely want to continue to add to the de-dollarization series that I've been covering for the last 7 or 8 years now. So as things wind down more into the end of this year, it's definitely stuff worth touching on. So hope everyone's doing well. As always, any first-time viewers, let me know where you're watching from via the chat, as well as hit that thumbs up button. Share your support for the channel. Won't be long. Just want to scan through a couple headlines real quick and bring some things to your attention, as well as get ready to connect this evening so we can have a little back and forth on the People's Talk Show to get a chance to hear directly from you guys. So as always, let me know where you watch from in the chat. I'll give it a second. And while I'm waiting, for those that might stumble across this video by chance, or it might be recommended through the algorithms, perhaps. If you have not, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, as well as the subscribe button with the bell notification. So hopefully you are tuned in and informed, but no guarantees. And also want to make sure you guys connect on the alternative media social platforms as a way to stay connected as best we can. And before I move further, let me just make sure I continue to remind people that the more Inflation Reduction Acts are passed, as well as all the other monetary and fiscal collision that's taking place, it's never been more important to make sure you're protected. And so, right, as of now, the Bullion Max opportunity is still available for community this month. So for those that might want to add to your stack, feel free to do so with this silver starter kit here. It's an assortment pack of a variety type of silver rounds, as well as bars here. So definitely a way to diversify if you're interested in doing so. Take advantage of that. Link is in the description. And also make sure you guys connect to RTD Locals. Definitely will be doing more streaming there as time moves forward. And especially if we're disconnected here on YouTube, that'll be my go-to, just because it's the best platform I'm on where we can engage and stay connected. So, and also if you guys want to support the channel, any help is definitely needed. Continue or consider that as well at the link below. And also, as I mentioned, all the blogs, articles, the IQ quiz, you name it, are available for you guys to continue to stay up to date, stay educated. So here's the de-dollarization series that I've been putting together for quite some time now. And I have over 70 or so videos throughout the years, just basically highlighting any and every issue dealing with Russia and China in regards to the dollar, or what they're trying to do around the dollar. So this video here will definitely be added to this, and I'll skim through that briefly. But headline today was definitely worth mentioning, so I thought I would bring it to your attention. But as you guys can see here, Turkish banks are adopting Russian payment systems, Erdogan says. And so this is the second meeting within the last 3 or 4 weeks that Putin and Erdogan, as well as the Iranian officials, have had. And it's all gearing up, in my opinion, to what will probably come to a full fruition of everything that they're doing sometime next month, because we have the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting around 15th or 16th of September, where they're going to induct Iran into the pact. And so they're expanding, they're furthering their negotiations on what they're going to be looking to use as a medium of exchange amongst themselves. And you better believe it has nothing to do with the Federal Reserve note. And so this information here, it's older news, because it's good to say they've worked this out well before now. I even came across an article highlighting how earlier this year, in the testing phase, some of Turkish banks, I want to say it was 3, connected with the Mir's payment system, which is a Russian credit card transaction system that several countries are using as of right now. So the more the West punishes Russia, the more they diversify out of the payment methods that they've been using from the West, which benefits them as well as everybody else, but ultimately comes back to shoot the West in the foot and everyone who holds Federal Reserve notes, aka dollars. But real quick, I'll thumb through this and just shine some light on it. But as it says here, 5 Turkish banks adopted Russia's mirrors payment system. Turkey's President Erdogan said on his return from talks with Vladimir Putin in the Black Sea resort of Sochi. It says there are serious developments regarding the work that Turkish banks are doing on Russia's mirrors card, Turkey's state-run media reported. And so payments in rubles will be a source of financial support for both Russia and Turkey, he said, adding the central bank's governors of the two countries are also met during the visit. And so outside of this, they're going to be doing transactions in rubles for gas. So Erdogan is deciding to go against the West's sanction tactics and directly fund their nation's energy usage in rubles, which the next article will shine more light and we'll find out what the West and how the West responds to this. But as you guys can see, it says, while Turkey voices opposition to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it has refrained from joining the U.S. and European sanctions on Russia. It has also continued to import energy from Russia, which provided a quarter of its crude oil imports and around 45% of natural gas exports. So they're doing that in rubles. And so here we have an article that is definitely worth mentioning. Erdogan and Putin deal huge EU blow and outsmarts the bloc. Turkey hands Russia rubles for gas. And so ultimately, I'll just sum it up for you. But with this announcement here of rubles being exchanged for energy, this plays right into what Putin always wanted to do. And a lot of other nations are doing this, and we're not hearing much about it. But you better believe if they want to stay warm this winter, they're going to be paying in rubles. But the follow-up to this was, what will the EU do? And so it says, Mr. Erdogan told reporters, as Turkey, our door is open to everyone. One good thing is that Sochi vision is that we agreed on the ruble with Mr. Putin. Since we will conduct the trade in rubles, it will, of course, bring money to Turkey and Russia. But it is clear that Turkey relies on Russia for a significant portion of its gas, which we just talked about that. So we'll find out what the response will be from the West, just because Turkey has been one of the outliers caught in between, it appears, the East and the West tug of war. But, of course, he'll ultimately side with the East because he wants energy as well as all the other situations taking place as well. And then also there's another article that I did not link to, but it talks about how during Putin and Erdogan's meeting, Putin was encouraging Turkey's presence next month at the SCO meeting, which I was referring to when Iran will be added into that pact or whatnot. And so my suspicion is that there will be some announcement of some kind, or there will be a much greater multilateral type of agreement signed or announced heading into the end of this year as we get closer to whatever unforeseen event that I'm anticipating seeing to really cause a shakeout in the West, forcing some type of response and, of course, some type of monetary escalation, of course. But these type of events are happening because of things like this. And so as you guys can see on the screen here, this is just a historical backdrop as to how all fiat currencies that are centrally controlled and international medium of exchange eventually face some headwinds and come to an end. And as you guys can see here, I put 2023 as a to be determined time frame, just because with all these agreements, all these hands been shaken, all the countries deciding to opt out of the petrodollar structure, it's only a matter of time before they set the new standard of some kind, and it will not be denominated in dollar terms. Dollars will be utilized because we here in this country will use them, but yet they won't still carry the same amount of international clout that they have now. And this is just a part of historical processes, nothing new. And it happens to be because we're coming on a home stretch of this last little bit of purchasing power out of this instrument here. And you better believe the Inflation Reduction Act will speed this process up to a sub-zero monetary instrument. But anyway, keep it moving along. A couple more articles here. I cannot help but talk about the recent sanctioning of a smart contract, in a sense, or a smart contract being added to the Treasury's Department blacklisting. So it says crypto mixing service Tornado Cash blacklisted by the Treasury Department for alleged use in laundering. And so this has nothing to do, in my opinion, with money laundering. It's more so the Tornado Cash service, i.e. smart contract that was put in place has been fully functional for the last, I think, maybe 4 years now. And it has allowed a lot of people, both criminals as well as your everyday mom and pops, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, to basically mix up and shake up their transactions, creating somewhat of a sense of privacy in an instrument that the central authorities want to be transparent from start to finish. They don't want any type of obfuscating your transactions, because privacy moving forward will be considered a crime, in my opinion. And so they want to see everything. And so when they have services such as this that makes it hard for them to do that, why not lump it into some North Korean hack and all that other stuff and try to ban it or delist some of the addresses, basically, which means that if you go into any of those addresses associated with that smart contract, your funds will be flagged and you could face some type of penalty / law issue. But anyway, real quick here, it says Treasury Department has sanctioned popular cryptocurrency mixing service Tornado Cash for allegedly helping launder over $7 billion of virtual currency. And so it said decision came after Americans were banned from using the service. Now, one thing I saw here says, quote, this is a quote from the Treasury Department: virtual currency mixers that assist criminals are a threat to U.S. national security, the Treasury Department said. And one thing that stood out to me was that assists criminals. And once again, not everybody who uses service is a criminal, but yet they'll cut it off from anybody that's a U.S. citizen and, disguise it as an activity or service that criminals use. And as I mentioned before, that's not the case. But this has a lot to do with the fact that there's been, as it says here, there's all types of 615 million stolen. Axie Infinity was 100 million stolen. We have, what else we got? Harmony that was stolen is, 100 million stolen from Harmony. So all these smart contracts, Ethereum happens to be the primary, reserve that a lot of these tokens or whatnot are either transferred into, or the ones that happen to be stolen out of these protocols. And the people are going to Tornado Cash to try to wash them and get rid of them. And so as you go through here, it talks about how enforcing such a move may be difficult for the government and overly restrictive, according to the coin, whatever. And it talked about here, all transactions by U.S. persons or within the United States that involve any property or interest in property of this designation or whatever addresses is facing is subject to authority, crime, and pride, whatever. So, and one thing I want to touch on here is, if you click this link here, it'll open up the actual Treasury where it gives you all the Ethereum addresses that are delisted or blacklisted. So, and what's also interesting is USDC, which is a ERC20 token that utilizes Ethereum. It also, if you go through there and have any transactions with USDC on the other end of that, you also run the risk of being delisted, blacklisted, as well as punishable by law, according to what they're telling us here. So here's a short list of all the addresses that I'm assuming are the entry and exit points for the smart contract. And so my guess would be these are the ones that have had the most activity thus far going in and out. So I would assume that they'll probably shake some stuff up with that smart contract to make it so people can still use the service, but you never know. But here's another little interesting tidbit here. This is another list. It says Circle just froze 75,000 USDC belonging to unsuspected Tornado users, as well as 149 USDC donated to the project. So as you guys can see here, you can see that there was 7,100 according to this address here. So that's somebody's funds that is no longer able to be transacted with, meaning that they're literally frozen. They're just stuck there. So if it was something of importance, it's no longer yours and you can't access it. So that's one of the problems with utilizing this technology when it's open source. You can see, track, and trace everything. Once again, if you don't write the code, you run risk of the whoever wrote the code, as well as the overwhelming majority of the quote unquote, I would say just shareholders of the biggest stakeholders that have access to, could change the consensus to how the protocol works, can be changed at last minute, therefore causing a lot of people a lot of headaches. So just something that to be aware of, because this is not the last time we're going to hear from this. There's will be a lot more projects added to the watch list, I'm sure. Anyway, keeping it moving. on the cryptocurrency, it says U.S. lawmakers look to digital dollar to compete with China. And so we have some of the lifelong politicians here, as you can see, Maxine Waters out here really pushing for the Fed coin, USDC, EUSD, whatever it might be called, because of the narrative they're painting. The U.S. is getting behind the China currency game, and it was a word used here. This is what it's called. Ms. Waters has framed competition over new forms of central bank money as, quote, a new digital assets space race. And so it looks like we are, according to the way she's put it, we're in competition with China to come out with the currency first, or it threatens our dollar hegemony over the world. And therefore, it's a race to come out with a coin first so that nations are not forced to use the Chinese yuan over the digital dollar representation. So that's just what they're trying to paint here. So they're trying to make it seem like it's a race to get a final product out there. And the article talked about the U.S. concern of other central banks linking to China's digital yuan, therefore lessening the grips of the dollar and things of that nature. So expect more talks about a digital dollar coming up soon, just because it just seems fitting that these politicians want this, because it's just a part of what they've been told to push. All right, keep it going. Last couple articles here. Outside of the economic situations, we're still in relatively calm waters for now. The markets are artificially induced and continue to tread semi in a upward fashion, even though the air is seeping out the bubbles, just depending on what you're looking at. But on a local front here, due to the pressure of a lot of employment, a lot of employers firing people from prior months back, the airline industry is still trying to play catch up. So they're swamped and they're canceling flights due to a shortage of staff. The flight attendants are overworked and doing more than they'd ever imagined. So some of them are quitting. And so literally there's lots of flights not being or being canceled, rather. Therefore, just more destabilization in the travel sector, which only has a ripple effect to cause more damage down the line. And so this is just an interesting headline. It's kind of long here, but as you guys can see here, over the past weekend, there was 1,000 or close to 1,000 flights delayed and canceled, and it's only appears to be getting worse due to shortage staff and everything else. So here's just some interesting numbers here that I thought was worth bringing to your attention. But certain airlines are literally backed up to the wazoo. So anyway, something worth mentioning. And on to more. It looks like due to concerns with extreme cost of living in the UK, more people are resorting to cash to have in their possession, as well as to transact with, assuming it might be beneficial for some as far as being able to get like a little bit of a discount or something like that. But it says cash withdrawals in the UK soar as Brits grapple with the rising cost of living. And it looks like a lot of people have chosen to vacation within the country rather than leave. And so they're doing it in cash. And also just they're setting records in unusual ways there. There was something about, let me share this with you real quick. The post office, which does a lot of transactions on behalf of the people there. It says here in total, more than 3.3 billion pounds in cash was withdrawn from deposits over the post office counters. The first time that amount has crossed the 3.3 billion pound threshold in its 360-year history. So the post office in 360 years has not dealt with that much cash ever. And of course, prior to the last 120 plus years, they had coinage. So there wasn't actually physical paper. So, but you get the idea. And last one here. This is what I was talking about when I first started off. That's something we're paying attention to. Coming up next month, as I mentioned, September, the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, they're having their meeting. And as it says here, Iran to be admitted into the summit this come September. So there's going to be more nations that are working together right now to go around the petrodollar system. So this could be one of those things where we hear about the announcement of some type of new agreement, some type of new international standard of trade being done amongst these nations. Because as China, Russia, as well as Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. I think Turkey is going to be present there. So they're adding in more of those nations there that are naturally rich in resources. And they're coming together. And once again, the U.S. is not invited. So I think that's something we're going to hear more about as well. But anyway, wanted to check in real quick, share with you some headlines that caught my attention and things worth definitely paying attention to. I think this Erdogan situation with Russia is just literally phase one of a lot more to come, just because it's all about preparing and setting up the infrastructure for whatever the next international standard will be. And there's no doubt that gold will be a part of it. But yet in the meantime, on the digital transformation, the Mirrors payment system is another swipe digital payment system, which of course will connect to the SPFS, which is Russia's alternative to the SWIFT system. So all that interconnectedness stuff is still part of the globalist agenda. It just won't be controlled directly by the West, in my opinion. So anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. As always, connect with me tonight. Probably plug in about 9:30 p.m. Bring any articles, thoughts, ideas to the table. Let's talk about it. And if you haven't, I want to make sure you guys stay plugged in. Link in the description. Connect with me on the socials, especially the Telegram, as well as the locals, and share articles, thoughts, ideas throughout the day. And I'll try to grab them and share them, and we can talk about them a little bit more. So I see a lot of good thoughts out here, and we can definitely have more discussion on that tonight. It says, what do you think of Steve Bannon said eliminate the Federal Reserve? I hope I wasn't dreaming. I'm not up to date on that one statement there, but the idea of Federal Reserve being eliminated at this point of the game, it wouldn't fly, just because Congress is dependent upon the Federal Reserve, because that's all they've known throughout their entire tenure in the political realm. And so even if we were to alleviate the Federal Reserve, we have nothing in place, because none of our politicians are literate enough to know what to do and how to govern our dang country, nevertheless our money. And the chance of them turning it back over to the states is not likely, but hopefully the states remove power back from the federal government and put it back into the hands of the states. Therefore, the people can have more of a say-so on it. So I would be all for that, but I would probably say it'd be better to focus on handling and starting your own personal standard in reference to stacking and making sure you have all life necessities, so that you don't have to depend upon the Federal Reserve or Congress and nothing like that to be able to transact if things go haywires in the near future. So create your own standard first, and then we'll come together and hopefully work out the national financial system in the days ahead, because once more people have precious metals in their possession, and give them more leverage to be able to make and demand change, because they're not dependent upon swiping of a card as well as paper units of IOU nothings. But Mario 123, a lot of thoughts here. You can't hide a stock market crash or the cost of gold and silver. Mario covered over the weekend. What else we got here? They are doing a fantastic job hiding the real value of metals, no doubt. And manipulation can be your best friend if you realize that that's what they're doing, and you take advantage of the complete insanity of these prices being so low. Let me just check into this real quick. And once again, I think the biggest thing, and what I try to do, is I don't look at the price of silver and gold from a USD term, just because we know it's manipulated. Look at an ounce of silver, an ounce of gold, and other currencies, primarily the emerging market currencies, and they're already well beyond all-time highs for the most part. So put yourself in the shoes of someone who lives in Africa or in Southern Asia or something like that, where your paper is worth nothing and you wish you could have got a hold of silver and gold in time, while the currency you had still could purchase it. So that's a much better approach, I think, rather than continue to focus on USD price, just because they've done a good job of making sure it never sees the extreme all-time highs, and that's going to be the case all the way until something breaks or they lose control, either one. But in the meantime, manipulation is your friend. What else we got here? Turkey already has a Chinese Union Pay credit card, so the Russian Mir cards complements. No doubt. And I hold the Russian, or I'm sorry, the Chinese card. It was so yeah, I've talked about that before. So a lot of jawboning, and so Russia and China have already had their system interoperable. So we know what's going on there. This is all just public theater. And of course, it's coming from Western media at this point, so it's already old news. All right. Well, anyway, don't want to rant anymore. Check back in tonight, and definitely looking forward to hearing more of your thoughts. Definitely let me know articles, thoughts, ideas, and we can have a little back and forth discussion. But other than that, be blessed, be safe. See you guys tonight. Shalom.
The next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months.
A crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
If you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.